It can be hard to see God's plan when you're in the middle of a storm. And if there's anyone who's had the ability to complain or was eligible to complain, it was Jesus. All he did was good, and we know how that ended for him. Jesus kind of came out of nowhere in the eyes of the people during his time. He wasn't from a prominent place, didn't have prominent schooling. And so when he was doing what he was doing, teaching what he was teaching, making these religious leaders look foolish, even though that was not his intent until they pretty much put him in a position to make them look foolish, everyone was amazed, like, where did this guy come from? And again, they were asking him questions, these religious leaders trying to trip him up in his words. And then finally Jesus poses them a question about who the Christ is, who the Son of David is. And it put them in a position to have to answer either Son of God or no response at all, which of course they chose no response at all, and then stopped asking Jesus questions because all they were doing was looking foolish. So my first reminder is, don't be prideful. Don't try to make others look foolish, because you soon will be humbled. Jesus said enough was enough with all of your questions, and he would turn the tables on them and humble them with a taste of their own medicine. But also, it would lead to these religious leaders to stop asking questions and then turn to violence. And so back to my all Jesus did was good, and we know how that ended for him. All Jesus did was good, and yet it led to him being nailed to a cross. God's plan, right? It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to us, and it's easy for me to sit here and say, awesome that Jesus did that, and it is. But it's easy for me to sit here and say that was God's plan. Like, what if I was in Jesus' sandals? Even Jesus himself said, if there's another way, please provide with another way to go through with your will, but not my will be done, your will. And so Jesus walked through persecution, ridicule, being mocked, ultimately killed for simply carrying out God's will for his life. So in the middle of the storm, when it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, remember what Jesus went through. None of us will go through what Jesus went through, and none of us on our best day are as good as Jesus, but that's what we should pursue, and that's what we should remember, the example that he set for us. And remember that what the enemy meant for evil, because these religious leaders meant wrong and harm and all these other things, but it was God's will. Prophecies were being fulfilled by what was happening. It was all part of God's plan. So what the enemy meant for evil, God turned it for his good.